All right, well, let's see, 8:01, calling the meeting to order. We'll go ahead and do roll call. Joelle Gibson,
Here.
me, Christina Hudson, Nicole Pa, Nick Pastiglione. I said it right, I think. Paula Shively,
Here.
Gary Skibba, and Adrian Webb. All right. All right, I hope all the commissioners had an opportunity to review the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
All right, a second, please.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded that we pass the agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. All right, now we open up to public comment, right? Yeah, all right.
So, Renee? I think Renee wanted public comment.
Public comment time if you want some, or if you want it. Totally inappropriate that I didn't hear that because I'm getting coffee.
No, we're casual.
Sorry. Well, I'm not really one for writing down notes to read, but I
Please
want to
state
make.
your name,
Yes,
please. Thank
I'm
you.
Renee Price. I am on the school board. I am a resident of Snoqualmie. And have been since 2008. I am part of the Parks and Events Commission here in the city, and I had the absolute pleasure of being a part of the tourism steering committee that happened over the last year that led to the led to the presentation that you're going to see this morning about the development of a DMO in the valley. And good morning. And I just wanted to take a minute to say, I know there have been a lot of questions about what is this? Why do we do it? Who gets involved? What does that mean for us? What's the value involved? Can we afford it? All of the normal questions. And I really want to encourage you that this work is essential to the valley, to Snoqualmie specifically, but to the valley as a whole. Um, Many of the principles of sustainable tourism involve regional work and creating stacked experiences, honoring culture, providing wayfinding, transportation, itineraries for guests. And it's really as a valley that we have not only an identity which can represent us in various rooms where we need to advocate for ourselves and show up economically, but it also is how we provide the experiences that visitors want, both cultural experiences, agritourism experiences, festivals, and other things that we have the opportunity to grow. The Sunflower Festival that just happened, developing across the valley, has an opportunity to be a huge benefit to our local businesses at a time when finances are often downturning for us. And I just want to say the work that has been done here by the entire community, over 100 people participated, a huge steering committee from agencies and organizations and businesses all over the valley. Leadership, Amy and Michelle is always there with great words, and Kelly and Wade's coming in to bring the messaging. The work that has been done has been super intentional, super fruitful, and insightful. And I would love to see us honor that by taking it to the next step and benefiting from it. The investments of the Port of Seattle, the investments of Washington State Tourism, it, it, it was worth what they worth what they put into it. The last thing, I'm so sorry. The last thing that I want to mention, though, is the only thing I would ask is that as a community member, we be sure that the structure that's put in place is sound in the way that we distribute money, who has access to it, and what qualifications they have to have, not as in they have this degree and they have this work history, but what strategy are they bringing to the table? What evidence do they have of impact? And what does that look like? I would just encourage you to make sure that that is a part of whatever decisions you make for how to manage the money that would come in to fund DMOs and other tourism projects. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Oh, and Adrian joined us. Welcome, Adrian. All right, so we move to the minutes. All right, again, I hope the commissioners had the opportunity to review the last meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 16th, 2025 and September 17th, 2025?
I move.
Thank you, Paula. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joelle. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of July and September of this year. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. All right, council member liaison report.
So Councilmember Watton was not able to attend today, so we'll have to skip that today.
All right, well, he is missed. All right. Community liaison report. Let's talk about.
Chair, might I ask to go later in the agenda? I know there's an audience member that wants to be here for the presentation, so I'm happy to go later if you want to amend the agenda.
Okay, so we are amending the agenda.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll go, you want to do that after new business then?
Yes, after the
Okay.
presentation.
Do we have to vote on that if it's the agenda's been amended? Okay. All right, wasn't sure what your protocol was. All right, so new business. All right, so Snow Valley Chamber of Commerce, sustainable funding through tourism.
Okay, let me get my screen shared so everyone can see. Right. Okay, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I guess protocol is name first. My name is Wade Sugiyama. I am a 10-year resident of Snoqualmie. I am, my kids go to Snoqualmie Elementary, and I am I have a solo marketing consulting practice, but I'm also a member of a larger consulting firm out in Kirkland called One Accord. But been helping the chamber maybe almost a year now on this project, so happy to represent them today. Okay, so I'm just going to start with something that I think we all could agree on, and it's basically that in order for the businesses here in Snoqualmie to grow, it's essential that tourism and visitors like play a role in that plan, right? That is pretty standard. And I think for most cities like Snoqualmie, there's no shortage of great ideas and well-informed ideas on how to do that. That's not the problem. The problem that most cities have is they struggle to find a way to fund all those efforts, specifically with visitor dollars, right? That's the struggle, is trying to get that to consistently be funded by visitor dollars. Okay, so I'm here with the chamber today, and we're going to be talking about a collaboration with a destination funding expert. The company is called Civitas. We have a woman named Maya on the phone who's going to be representing that. She'll be more of the star of the show today than me, but I'm just sort of introducing it. So we're talking about a collaboration with a company called Civitas, who's done this for cities around the world and sort of ready and willing to do this for Snoqualmie Valley to help us put together a sustainable funding model for this specific purpose. And I think understanding and help us navigate the nuances, the legal nuances that requires, which is significant. Also that we can fund all the amazing ideas like Renee was talking about that have already come out of the work that the community's put together, bring those to life with visitor dollars for years to come, right? That's sort of the idea. And what we're asking for today is support from the EDC to support the reimbursable dollars from the city to get Civitas involved, right? To like get them involved and get started. And we'll talk a lot more about what Civitas would do and how they would collaborate with everyone else as well. So that's what we're asking for today. Okay, so the story begins where most of us, we're more at a macro level about where tourism is here in Snoqualmie Valley. Some of you may know some of this information, so just forgive me for some of that, but I just want to set the stage a little bit. So the kind of headline is that like visitors are not back to pre-COVID levels. So this is data from a 2023 visitation report by Datify. And I just want you to pay attention to the chart on the bars here. This is an estimated visitor days in Snoqualmie Valley year over year. Okay, and the green bars are what I want you to pay attention to. That's 2019 pre-COVID and 2023. We're down 18% in visitor days since pre-COVID. Right, but that's not the only challenge we have here. We still have this challenge where visitors come and they go to one location and then they leave, or they go, they don't go further than that. We have visitors then that use the city resources but aren't contributing as much to the local economy. And then the profile of our visitors has evolved, right? There's certainly an opportunity to rebalance and attract more higher spending segments as well. So it's some of what's happening. But we're not here to solve this problem here today. In fact, what Renee was mentioning, that whole group has done quite a bit of work to help here. So I'll just give a quick overview. Called it the Tourism Workspace, if you're not familiar. Snoqualmie Valley, like Renee mentioned, was selected as the 4th Washington State rural destination to be part of this rural tourism support program. There was an amazing gift of $300,000. And as a part of that, there was 100 or so people, 4+ events, 8 months of community collaboration across the entire region. So that includes, there was an event at the club at Snoqualmie Ridge, there was an event at the Snoqualmie Inn, at Remlinger Farms, and then at City Hall in North Bend. So quite a bit of community collaboration to be a part of this. And what it culminated into was a formal document of intent. I'm not going to go through the whole document, but the intention was to say, tourism here specifically is unique because it's not just about bringing millions and millions of more people, right? It's about protecting the land, water, wildlife. It's about enhancing visitor safety in addition to kind of economic resiliency, right? That's kind of this whole intent. And out of this work, there were 6 priority projects that were set forth and in a 15-year vision. Right, and the one we're not going to talk about all 6 of these. The one we're going to talk about is this creation of a destination management and marketing organization. Now, the reason we start here, and this is not Wade's crazy idea or the Chamber's crazy idea, this is what came out of this group to say this is the first place to start because this is how you unite the efforts. Otherwise, they're all separate efforts, trying to get funding, trying to get support. The DMO or the Destination Management and Marketing Organization is how you unite the efforts and steward the progress. Right, and this organization would be separate from the chamber, but through the chamber, sort of dedicated to promoting and stewarding the area and enhancing visitor safety. Now, there's 3 major pillars of the DMO, and of course, there's plenty to it. But what I mentioned today that we're going to focus on is this self-sustaining funding from visitors. Of course, there's going to be lots of different stakeholders that need to be represented here. And then, of course, there's marketing expertise. I would say this, from a marketing perspective, it's the most accessible marketing has ever been, but it's also the most challenging marketing has ever been for both enterprise level companies all the way down to small businesses. We're going to spend most of our time today talking about the self-sustaining funding from visitors. And I'm going to introduce Maya on the phone or on Zoom. And she's going to talk specifically about a visitor funding mechanism called a business improvement area. Maya?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you all today. My name is Maya Kidd. I'm a legal analyst and account manager for a firm called Civitas, and I'm looking forward to kind of giving you an overview of the mechanism that we'll be reviewing today, as well as its economic impacts and what it can really bring to a destination once implemented. So here at Civitas, we are your partner in creating sustainable funding mechanisms. We are the only firm who is creating these kinds of districts on a national scale. We've also worked internationally. We've completed over 200 district formations globally, worked with 45 states here and 7 different countries. And those districts today are generating over $2.5 billion in dedicated funding. Here below on the slide, you can see some of our clients that we've worked with here in Washington. But we've been in business for over 30 years now, or almost 30 years, and we'll be 30 years next year. And our CEO and founder, John Lambeth, was the one who actually co-authored the state legislation in California. The legislation is pretty much mirrored across other states with slight variations, but we are familiar with the one that we'll be taking a look at today. You go to the next slide, you can take a peek at some of our other clients here across the country. but we've worked with hundreds of DMOs across the country who are also interested in either or destinations who are either interested in creating a DMO for the first time, and also destinations who have DMOs already in place but are looking to increase their budgets for dedicated marketing services. So getting into what is a business improvement area. So the way it works is businesses will petition amongst themselves to pay an assessment. Your law, your business improvement area law in the state requires a 67% vote of petitions from the businesses. So they will vote amongst themselves to pay an assessment. That assessment is then collected by the local government. We also have some clients who are using a third-party agency for collection, so that collection process can kind of be ironed out during the outreach process. But once those funds are collected, they are then remitted to and managed by the DMO. And the DMO uses them to implement services. Most typically, it's going to be your traditional marketing and sales. We've also seen DMOs who are supporting services such as sporting events, capital improvements such as convention center expansions or sports facilities. And we are also seeing some DMOs using the funds towards workforce and transportation as well. So it just kind of goes to show you just how creative you can get with these districts. But of course, it really depends on what is going to be benefiting the businesses. So it's an assessment, it's not a tax purely because of that.
Oh, did she freeze?
Maya, we think you're frozen.
Oh, yeah, she dropped off.
Does she need to be let back in again, or does she automatically come in? Okay.
Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can.
I don't
Thank
know,
you.
I dropped
You
off a
bet.
bit. It's raining pretty hard here in Sacramento currently, so I'm not sure if that's having something to do with my connection. So sorry about that. So going on to the next slide, I think I was just wrapping up that the difference between an assessment and a tax is that the law requires that you show benefit back to those who are paying into the assessment. So it's really important that we get the businesses involved to get their feedback on what they want to see their funds being put towards and reflecting that benefit clearly. But going into the economic case for these kinds of mechanisms, we conducted a study in partnership with Tourism Economics, in which we analyzed data over the span of 30 years of destinations, 29 cities with these districts in place, and 71 cities without these districts in place. And the report measured things such as business performance, local economic characteristics, and examined the impacts on product demand, revenue, and visitor spending. We'll get into the results of that study in just a second, but I wanted to let you know that one of the destinations, I had a chance of meeting with them last week, who just went through their renewal for a 10-year term, but their initial 5-year term, he was able to let me know that across the span of 5 years, the district was saving their residents around $19,000 in tax dollar savings per resident. So I felt like that was pretty impactful. But going on to the next slide, what the study found is that these districts increase business demand and revenue, and those destinations with these districts in place were outperforming those that did not have a district in place. And on average, the study found that these districts were producing a 2.1% in lift in business demand, and that on average, these districts are producing a 4.5% lift in business product revenue. So clearly showing that these districts are driving economic impact in their destination, not only, you know, improving the destination's performance, but those kinds of factors such as saving residents tax dollars while also increasing tax dollars generated in the destination shows that these mechanisms kind of work in complementary to systems already in place. Next slide, please. Thank you. Also, we conducted a case study on San Diego. They've had a district, their district is a business district that includes hotel businesses. And back in 2013, the district itself had to kind of come to a halt because of a litigation issue. And so the funds that were held in limbo during much of 2013, as you can see here on the chart here, the bar chart, what it's showing is that in that year, the lodging tax receipts in California, it's called transient occupancy tax receipts, dropped well below the levels that they were performing at just a couple years prior. So once the litigation resolved and the district won and it was able to continue operations, you can see that the lodging tax receipts received the following year went back to normal, if not above the the levels that it was performing at prior. So again, just really capitalizing on the point that these districts really go hand in hand with the tax structures that are already in place, and it's going to increase revenue on both fronts, increasing revenue for the destination and tax generated revenue, as well as saving those residents tax dollars as well. Next slide, please.
Okay, and then what we'll do, I'm gonna let Maya jump back in here, but as she describes what BIAs look like in general, how they've shown economic impact, I want to bring this back to Snoqualmie Valley, right? Like how do we find the right fit and take action here is sort of where we want to transition to. So Maya, you want to jump in here next?
Yeah, of course. So, kind of really the first step in the process is determining what this visitor focus assessment is going to look like. We know that it's going to be one on local businesses, and it's required by law to show benefit back to those businesses who are paying in to the assessment. But really, when it comes time to determining what exactly that looks like, that is going to reveal itself during the first step in the outreach process. We will need to engage the business owners to really get a sense of what support levels might look like, what businesses would even benefit from increased visitation numbers, and really start working with the data to start projecting who would be included, what an assessment would look like, and how much that assessment is going to be generated. In terms of having that be the first step, that would be the first step that we would conduct while we were engaged. The cost to engage us would be a one-time fee that is reimbursed through the collections of assessment revenue once the district is in place. So the cost that is fronted right now will completely be reimbursed once the district is up and running. But again, in terms of questions of what does this look like, who's assessed, we don't yet know those details, those nuances, but what we do know is that the law allows for really wide-ranging flexibility in terms of how we create and structure this district, the parameters of the districts. You can classify different business types, you can do varied assessment rates, it could be tiered, but really it all ties back to that benefit nexus. And so whatever we do decide on, we need to make sure that that benefit is justified and clearly translated to the business owners, because it is a vote of the business owners. It's not a vote of the public because of that benefit nexus. So we have to rely on the business community, which is why that outreach is going to be extremely important.
And I'll say, just to add a couple of notes here, I mentioned in the beginning that this is really about trying to fund all these efforts with visitor dollars. And the most common way to do that is through lodging, right? Which is not necessarily ideal here in Snoqualmie Valley, which is why there's sort of this unique challenge for us. And there has to be a unique way to do that. And trying to figure that out is a very common struggle for other cities as well. And then the other idea is, when I say visitor dollars, you want it to be an assessment around something that will grow as more visitors come, right? As the DMO does its job well, you see that rise, and so that the visitors are ending up providing some of that funding. Okay, so just a quick, here's how we do it, right? Like, here's how it would happen. The tourism workspace has done a ton of work already. We want to see how, we want your help to kind of bring some of those to life. And the way to do that is, one, there'd be reimbursable funding from Snoqualmie. North Bend is committed to the project. We've presented to Mayor Ross and team, and she asked us to come here and make sure to present it to you all. And we're looking for the support from EDC, from the EDC today. It's exactly what we want to talk to you about. Step two is collaboration on the funding model. This is where everyone's going to come in. Civitas would begin their work to facilitate that cross collaboration, make sure we're navigating some of the legal nuances of how to do this. And then each participating city gets to create a commission who will then collaborate on forming a board, right? That's separate from the chamber board that will then staff and govern the DMO, right? There's going to be lots of participation from both cities and then businesses as well. And the third step is really to start funding the tourism efforts with visitor dollars. So target to raise a minimum of $350K in funds to run the DMO and fund projects. And then the DMO will be run through the chamber to keep costs low, right, and keep it sustainable, especially as it gets going. So that's sort of the basic first 3 steps here. Questions, comments for Maya or myself or anybody on the chamber?
Is there more or is that the end of
That's
the?
it.
Okay, okay. I wasn't sure if there was like more and you were just doing.
No, that's it.
Um, Any questions or comments?
Do you have a case study of something you've done? I mean, I know that you have to figure it out, but it's been done, 30 times or whatever. Is there a case study of how it's been broken down by other cities or other projects?
Yeah, Maya, I think maybe if you want to come back to the San Diego one, but I don't know, Maya, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I guess to answer your question, we can provide more case studies for sure, but to give you an idea of how it's been done in other destinations, I will say to Wade's point, most traditionally, it's going to be a group of hotel owners who are opting to pay an assessment. And those districts are often referred to as tourism improvement districts. The name that's used, whether it's business improvement area, tourism improvement district, business improvement district, tourism marketing district, those all those acronyms are pretty interchangeable with an emphasis on what the district is actually implementing and their focus. But most traditionally, it's going to be a group of hotels, and it'll be anywhere from it could be a flat dollar fee, a half a quarter of or quarter, a half a dollar, or a percent up to, I think the highest that we're seeing most recently is Huntington Beach in California. They did a 6% of that shows up on your hotel folio. 6% of the room night charge. But we're seeing the trend of districts wanting to include more than beyond lodging for destinations that, like the Snow Valley or Snoqualmie, does not have a ton of hotels. And so they might be going to include short term rentals or restaurants, retail. Some are even doing golf resorts. And so, but the idea is the same. It's going to be a group of businesses, whether that's one business sector or multiple business sector, really depends on the destination. The way that the assessment is structured itself, the methodology, it might be a percentage, it might be a flat dollar. We have some districts that do, actually in Mammoth, they do a flat dollar for some and percentage for others because they have a bunch of different sectors. They're the ones who have retail, golf, hotel and restaurant, and so they have to get really creative on the assessment structure and the tiers because, again, going back to that benefit, not all businesses are going to benefit to the same level, and so that's why that one's kind of structured that way. But to answer your question, these destinations structure them completely differently. A lot of their limitations are rest in the statute. California has its own set of limitations. Washington and their BIA and your BIA statute has its own limitations. However, we've taken a look at the law and it's really quite broad. It really just rests on that benefit factor, and it allows, I think, up to 6 different types of business categorizations. You can categorize them based on geography, revenue, other data, any kind of reasonable way that ties back to benefit. So we can get quite creative, but that at least hopefully gives you a sneak peek into the ways that these districts can be structured. And let me know if you have any follow-up questions.
I have a question unless there's, I just want to be clear. So the magic number is 67% that you
Correct.
need to get approval for or support for this.
Correct.
And I know we're talking about businesses. Are you talking about the small businesses that rent their space? Or are you talking about the landowners, the building owners that you need to get sign off from?
So it would be the business owners themselves. The law, I believe, allows for both types of districts. You might have a district that is based on property owner benefit, but in that case, if you wanted to go that route, you would need to implement services that are going to benefit the property owner. So maybe I would assume that a marketing type of district is going to benefit more so the business owner than the property owner. Property owner benefits would be tied to things like maintenance, capital improvements, safety, beautification, things that are going to improve their business retention on their property. So the law allows for both mechanisms, either property district, a business district, or a hybrid of the two. But in this case, based off of what we're looking to do, increase visitation to the destination, we would want to go the business owner route and assess them because it's going to be their business that is benefiting more so with these kinds of services than that of a property owner.
I just wanted to, Adrian, I wanted to, one comment on your question. Something that's been helpful for me as I've been kind of, learning about this the last year or so, as I'm thinking about case study, because I was in the same mindset when I first came in, is that, because Snoqualmie is so unique, and the whole valley is a little unique in that it's not normally lodging, there's not an apples to apples, this is exactly how it is to compare like this, how it might be. However, what I believe is that once you go through that first collaborative process to decide this is how we think this works best for Snoqualmie Valley, there will probably be more specific case studies that Maya could provide that are like, this is the most like what you are deciding is the assessment, because it's not going to be like lodging, which are going to be the primary. So that's sort of been, for me, in that initial collaboration is where we're like, okay, this was what fits here. Now let's see what that might look like as close to apples as possible.
Yeah, well, I know, just like very simply, like what the investment is and how much, I mean, there's no numbers, so I don't know how you make a decision without some idea of like what the cost.
What
like
the cost of the
like
assessment.
what that company charges, what the tax will be on, it's just more money, right? So it just seems like we'd want to see something, as far as just some.
So we have the initial setup costs here in between 65 and 85K total. And North Bend is committed to the project so far. And so that would be a collaboration between North Bend and Snoqualmie to provide that. And then the great benefit is that it's reimbursed once the DMO gets going, right? So it's not just dollars down, that the money comes back, that the DMO is allowed to be able to do that. So.
And then the budget it generates, I think we're backing into a goal budget of 350,000 for the DMO to be up and running and working. The way that we operate in our firm is we ask, our clients, what would get you, what's the budget number that's going to get you moving forward in terms of implementing the services you need to start making an impact. And they'll give us that number for destinations. It's going to vary based on how large or how small your destination is. When I was collaborating with the chamber, they said 350,000 would be kind of our gold star budget. And so what we do is once we get going during the outreach and starting to take a look at, temperature check of businesses, who might be on board, who might not be on board, and getting a temperature check there, we start then working with the data to understand, okay, what would an assessment methodology look like to reflect that benefit back to the business owner, and what would that amount get us to 350K. So it might be, like I said, just depends on how many businesses we're including. If we can justify the benefit, it might be anywhere as low as 10 cents on every, folio. It might be smaller than that. It might be a 0.5% or 1%. So those nuances start to reveal themselves during the process once we are engaged. But in the sense of, to give you an idea with the numbers that we do know the cost it takes to find this information out. So anywhere from 65 to 85K to get us going. And then of course the budget that we're hoping to get is 350,000. So then
And also just from the chamber's perspective, it's a sort of minimum 350K. A lot of the DMOs are raising a lot more money than that, right? But 350 is sort of our baseline, what we want to start with. Thanks, Maya.
And
Sorry.
we've seen these
Yeah.
districts raise anywhere from as low as $10,000 annually to as high as $35 million annually. And the highest one is in San Diego, but that's the range.
So
Maya-
we
Oh, go
have a
ahead.
question up here. Oh, did someone?
I have a question.
Oh, was that Nick? Was it Nick?
Yeah, I can wait though.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, maybe I missed, what would be some examples of what Snoqualmie and North Bend would do with that money? And then who's making the decisions to do said things with that money?
Yeah, absolutely. For from what I understand, it would be mainly marketing and sales. The nuance of the services will also kind of reveal itself during the outreach process, what businesses want to see done with their money in collaboration with the cities, obviously. But in terms of how those decisions are made, during the outreach process, what we like to do, I think it was mentioned that there's going to be a commission from each city, kind of have, where was that slide? Wait, yeah. Each participating city will create a commission who will collaborate on forming a board that's separate from the changer that will staff and govern the DMO. And so, because there is no DMO in place, the city will have the opportunity to help collaborate on who will be on that commission to then nominate those board members that will govern the DMO. And those board members will decide how the money is spent. However, the 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 rules of the money and where it goes to and the budget is decided upon during the outreach process. We draft what's called a management district plan, and in that plan, we outline kind of, here would be, the priority projects that would be included in that plan. When it comes to the governance and who sits on the board that's created, the one that's kind of just, nominated with the collaboration of each city, we've seen various governance structures working across different destinations. Most oftentimes, what works best for destinations that don't yet have a DMO is to staff the board with business owners who are paying into the assessment. And oftentimes that is what is required to be able to get the buy-in of the business owners. So they might not be, they would probably be more inclined to sign a petition for a district like this if they see that they will be represented on the board, whether that's them themselves individually or they have a representative amongst their community who is going to be able to speak on behalf of their interests. And all that to say, we've also seen boards that are board makeups of majority of business owners paying into the assessment with some seats for city officials. But again, that governance structure kind of gets collaborated upon at the beginning. You don't need to know all the details of the governance structure. We can just put very simply in the plan that it will be majority of business owners paying the assessment, and the rest of the board seats might be decided later once the bylaws are drafted. But
And I'll say, Nick, I think from the chamber's perspective, the DMO itself becomes the decider for what it gets done with the money. And then I would say these 6 projects are a great place to start, but there's certainly going to be lots of opportunity to collaborate on what actually happens. It sounds like, the chamber does a lot of marketing for the general area on very tiny budget. A lot of kind of work goes on their backs. And I think the idea is to shift some of that burden of marketing the area in totality, to the DMO itself. So that's kind of the hope, is all those efforts. And I think these 6 projects are probably a good place to start from all that collaboration across the region.
All right, I know I've heard some questions here, so you guys jump in if I get the questions wrong here, but there's a couple of questions here. What is I think first, understanding the path of where the money comes from and how it gets there, and then secondary is return on investment for these businesses. So if I'm understanding it correctly, there is a fee, I don't think it's called a tax, a fee that would be charged to every sale or a particular sale or whatever is determined by this, that the small businesses would need to charge their customers. That fee goes to the Department of Revenue. Department of Revenue then takes a cut, that's small, and then goes to a city likely. And then the city then provides it as reimbursement for expenses by the DMO. And that's part 1 of the question. Does that sound about right, Mia?
Yes, that sounds about right. With the caveat of it would be, for example, if we were assessing businesses who paid sales tax, we would likely see that the collection happens in the same manner as sales tax collection. So if that is the Department of Revenue, then we would mirror that same collection process. It's usually the easiest collection process to do because there's already infrastructure in place to handle those collections in the same manner. However, we have also seen destinations who enlist assessments on businesses that are not lodging also hire a third party agency to kind of streamline that collection process. But so that decision really depends on what is the appetite of all these different entities at play. So if the Department of Revenue, has issues for whatever reason, we can look to hiring kind of a third party collecting arm. But you're correct in the money flow. It's businesses pay, it's collected either by a third party agency or the local government, in this case, perhaps the Department of Revenue, then remitted back to the DMO. And if that needs to go back through the city, then it would do that.
Does that make sense too?
Kind of.
Kind of, all right.
I'm
And
still, yeah.
So then there's the return on investment piece to those small businesses that are signing on. So with this fee, that it is a fee to the person who is purchasing it, whether it's a resident or whether it's a visitor. And then it would go into this fund to help support programs to help market the area, to then in turn try to get more business for our small businesses. So there's no, the ROI is increased marketing and exposure for the businesses. Is that correct?
Correct.
I think, is that, yeah, yeah.
I have a question, and maybe you mentioned it, but I missed it. There was something about taxpayer savings, and I'm not quite sure how that comes into play. How do residents save on taxes with this?
Yeah. So the concept is residents are no longer having to pay increased tax rates or pay more, because the visitors that are coming in are generating not only assessment revenue for the district, but they come in and they're paying sales tax, they're paying lodging taxes that then go back to the local governments, and local governments get to kind of implement the increased tax dollars on a local level and no longer need to solely rely on their residents for paying those tax dollars. You're actually getting increased visitors into the destination. And so that in turn saves the residents annually on taxes that they would have otherwise had to pay to local governments who are looking to increase the general fund to implement services that need to support the destination. So with these districts in place, they kind of alleviate some of the burden on local governments that it takes to market their destination, to support the destination, and turn to the visitors to pay for those additional services. Does
So I
that make
think in
sense?
short, it's like you're increasing the pie.
Right, but it's a little bit of a trade-off because the residents are also paying that assessment on everything they purchase in the valley.
Correct,
So,
correct.
well, not
But whatever
on
gets
whatever
determined.
we've assessed it to.
Yeah, yeah. Do we take
you.
questions from the audience, or is that a new? Or is he?
You're the chair.
Oh, I don't know if there's any rules. All right. Would you like to defer to the, I'll leave it to you. This is
Yeah,
your
we can open it
presentation.
up to audience if there's
Yeah.
questions.
You need to come up to
Wanna
the
come up to
mic, Wendy.
So I am Wendy Thomas from Carmichael's Hardware, and I live there, but I actually sleep in North Bend at 721 East North Bend Way. I have been here a long time, as many of you may know. And I have had the privilege and as a learning experience of having been through a very similar exercise previously called Outside Seattle. I don't know whether anybody has heard of that, but they probably haven't. And you know why? Because it didn't go well. And there was a fellow by the name of Jim Pearman, who used to be the Mercer Island mayor, who was in charge of this. And it sounds very similar to what's happening in this room in terms of explanation. And it was much more regional in nature. So it had many more cities involved. And I would caution you greatly. We have a $19,000 savings for residents, which the first thing that comes to mind for me is that's got to be a damn big city, and there's got to be a lot of assessment. And the other problem that we have now is that we used to have lodging tax, which we no longer have. And we're trying to perhaps create another funding mechanism. However, I think that the numbers that we're hearing are not in relationship to population base here or revenue that's generated. And the first thing I would ask is, so in order to get to $350,000, if you looked at all your revenues in the district that could potentially be assessed, what would that look like? What would that percentage be? Are we even really, is that even really feasible? Because I'm getting a bald spot and a palsy here. The numbers just don't seem to me to be very, I mean, hey, I'm a business owner, so I guess I'm going to get to hear more about this. But I'm one of 2 business owners in this meeting. And I bet you if there were more business owners and they were smarter than me, which I think a lot of them are, they'd have a lot more questions than what I'm asking right now.
Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. I think part of the question that you raised was, what does this look like? What is the percentage? Those are questions that we don't know, but those are questions that would be answered early on in the process once we start getting our hands on the data and having numbers to be able to have these conversations with business owners. Because ultimately, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad another business owner is here because this is part of the process. You are the most important player in the game, and so we're not going to create a district that is going to be something that business owners can't get behind and can't agree upon, because we need your vote to even see a district working. And so I just want to emphasize that it's most important that you are involved during the outreach process. And once we get started, we have our hands on the data, we start taking a look at what could be feasible. Those questions and those discussions and the concerns and questions that you raise, and perhaps other, of course, business owners will be raising during the process, we have the opportunity to have that kind of cross collaboration, education, and learning, and really getting to a place where we can create something that business owners can get behind and can support. So you raise an excellent point, and we look forward to having those conversations because each district is going to be different. And to your point, yes, these districts range in population, in size, in revenue, and we understand that Snow Valley is different for a lot of reasons, and so we want to be able to create something that speaks to the differences and the unique destination that is Snow Valley.
So this is 2 phases. So the first phase, and what we're being asked today is to support North Bend, and correct me if I'm wrong, support the North Bend Snoqualmie collaboration in funding Civitas to begin this process. Then there is the second phase is you have to reach 67% of a yes on whatever you determine those businesses or business activities or industry that you want to tax. So I will tell you that it takes a really long time and it's really difficult too. So I know you all know how hard that is. So this is to explore the idea basically and to see if it will move forward. The second piece is probably the most difficult, where all the questions should be answered at that point. But it doesn't happen overnight. When we did our tourism promotion area, it took years to be able to get it and get everybody signed on.
And then who again is in charge of the, seeing if the 67% would agree? Would that be you, or is that the separate commission that will be formed to help with that? That's what I'm just wondering about this whole process,
Yeah,
like from start to
absolutely.
finish, or more of a timeline again.
I think that's a smart question. Maya, do you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, in terms of process and administratively, we as the consultant would be kind of, once we start getting our hands on the data, we would be able to kind of create a tracker of, for the petition, working closely with the local government to oversee that tracker. Once the petition threshold is met, or we believe it's met, we would forward the petition, signed petitions to the local government for validation. And once that is validated, that starts then triggering the process at the local government level. In terms of, because it is going to be a multi-jurisdiction district with North Bend and Snoqualmie, the decision, the the way that the petitions tracked through local government would rest with the leading jurisdiction. So that might be North Bend, that might be Snoqualmie. Really just depends on who wants to take the lead on moving the petition and getting the process through local government. Whomever is the lead jurisdiction will have to, once that petition goes through them and once it's validated, they will have to request consent from the other city to consent to be included in the district. And that is another part of the process, but that's kind of how it works on the administrative level. But we would have a hand in assisting with ensuring that the petition threshold is met and that the petitions are drafted according to the requirements in law. Again, working with whomever would be the lead jurisdiction to see that petition through a local process, and then going to the partnering jurisdiction for consent to be included.
Would there have to be, you're talking about an interlocal agreement. Oh, sorry, Nick, I'll let you speak in a second. You're talking about an interlocal agreement between the two cities. Can that happen in parallel with the approval, trying to reach the businesses and getting petitions signed?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
And
Nick-
that's included in the cost.
Nick had his hand up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if our company would be involved in this, which is whether or not it is. I'd be curious what other business owners say. I mean, you have to keep track of sales tax at the state level. Then there's like the county taxes. You have your local taxes. You have all your unemployment, FMLA taxes. There's all these different tax systems, B&O tax, etc. To me, this is just like another basically tax system outside the tax system that already exists. It seems, I don't know, overly complicated. You're talking about how difficult this is to do. There's nonprofits out there like Mountain of the Sounds Greenway, right, that focus on this area. I don't know. I struggle to get on board with creating another system that has its own administrative costs outside of other administrative costs that we already pay for in cities. Yeah, I don't know. I'll leave it at that, but I'd be curious to learn what other business owners say and like the types of businesses.
Is this presentation, I don't think it was included in the packet. Was it not? All
It
right.
was not.
Because I don't know, what is the timeline that you need this decision? I feel like this is a lot of information for the commission and they have a lot of questions and I think need to sit with it. And because it wasn't provided in advance, do we have time to move to the next meeting?
I think yes. I think the answer is yes, to be able to move. The idea is to move as quick as we can to get it going and ahead of some of the big things coming up in the coming year with World Cup and so on. So yeah, but absolutely want to make sure everyone has ample time to review and.
Yeah. And I'm fairly sure, since World Cup's in June, this could not be at all completed by June. So I understand there's a big opportunity here, but I don't think this, I
don't think we can.
be wishful
agree on
thinking
that.
to see if we can.
Kelly, you want to come up?
Kelly, can you come to the mic?
So many of you know that a lot of our nonprofits, which Mountains of Sound Greenway was one of them, have been working with us on this. And it is very critical that we do something in place. Even their Ambassador Trailhead program is in danger. Their funding has been cut and it will be continued to be cut. And so we're at this crossroads where we're seeing the devastation that's happening with our downtown from us not being able to market when we had our LTAC funds. We see that already. It's already hit and it's just going to continue to be further and further. So we work with a lot of different entities on this. It's a very scary time for a lot of our business owners, and we try as hard as we possibly can to get this out. And there is no possible way for us, for either city to put in money to be able to do the tourism. There is no way for us to be able to do this on our own. It has to be together, and it has to be where we actually make a big impact. And if not, we'll see a continue decline even further than what we're seeing right now.
And I'll say, it hasn't been determined yet who would be assessing this fee. So if it is restaurants and retails, maybe that's not a group that is willing to do that. Maybe it's something different. As you mentioned, Mia, there was, when we talked about landowners or business owners, for them, the benefit is getting good tenants. The more people you have, the more tenants that are interested in their property. However, the services would be different. It would be, because I know Ballard has a BIA out there, and they do a lot of like patrols and safety and that kind of stuff. So it isn't yet determined who that group would be. Again, this is the first step in exploring what that means. So the deadline, there's no deadline yet, but we could maybe get this presentation out to the rest of the commissioners that weren't here. Welcome, Gary. Got in here. And we can kind of look through it, and if there's any questions that the individual commissioners have, can they provide a contact information to ask any questions? Okay, that'd be perfect.
So what's the next step? Is there going to be like another meeting to make a decision?
I think we're going to get this presentation, Nick, and give it to all the commissioners to review and to ask any questions. We have been asked to, I believe, officially vote to support this effort. And so my request on behalf of the commissioners, and let me know if you don't want this, but to do the vote at the next meeting, so that we have time to review and ask questions.
Okay, that sounds fine.
Okay.
So this isn't really a question. There's this detail that is running in my head as all these conversations are happening that I want to make sure comes out in this. And we all know it, but it's easy to forget. We have over a very conservative estimate is about 1.5 million people a year that come to our valley. They're not. Oh, well, I was thinking specifically of one spot, but 13 million in the valley overall, if you're talking about all the different places. 13 million people that already show up here, are already on our streets, are already in our environment. But what they're not doing is coming to our businesses to buy lunch, buy a souvenir, buy a pretty dress, buy anything. They're not coming to our secondary businesses. So the ability of individual businesses to market themselves largely lies local. I'm promoting my taco place. I'm promoting my shoe store. That's a local thing. Scale is just inevitable in order for us to benefit from all of what the Valley is as a community. That marketing needs to have an identity that's regional, and it needs to have a collaboration that's regional, so that we are bringing people from other places, a lot of them already stepping foot in our valley. We need them to step foot in our businesses and spend money, and that's only going to happen with regional identity and regional marketing. So again, I just want to make sure we bring that point up. They're here already. We can focus on higher spend visitors, and it is a visitor management program, not just a marketing program. And that helps us get visitors where we want them and need them, not just on the trail. So, thanks.
So I just also request that perhaps there's some outreach to other businesses so that you could get a different perspective. And I also happen to have several other dealer friends who live in districts that have BIAs, and they were formed locally. One is West Seattle. I also would ask, what happens if the district isn't formed? Who's on the hook for the 65 to 85K?
I would imagine that the two read North Bend and Snoqualmie. So there needs to be awareness that that could happen. There may not be reimbursement. All right.
So I've been here for I've lived here for almost 14 years, but 9 years I've been in this position. We have seen so many different things that have happened here. We've had Savor Snoqualmie. We had who you're talking about, Wendy. Those were all people that were outside of our valley that were trying to create things, and they would never work, and they didn't work. So this is something that is ours. It is not some other company coming from Seattle that is making this happen. And I will encourage you to know, as we wait and wait and wait on this, the more that we're going to see a decline. We are working on pennies, literally pennies, to put marketing together. We have done a lot in the impact. As we saw our wedding guide, we started off with that. We saw 30 weddings a year. We now see over 450 weddings a year just from that wedding guide, which puts in almost $12.5 million into economic vitality. The same thing with Twin Peaks. We realize Twin Peaks has a big impact. We now know there's 50,000 people that come here every single year on Twin Peaks. That's additional $12.5 million of impact that has on it. We've done all of that on pennies. And it's at this point where we can't sustain any longer. We have to have help. And we don't see any other options. LTAC gave us an option when we had the LTAC funds to be able to go and give funds and put marketing out there. Every one of you have had things that we've used that marketing for. And it is no longer available, except for maybe we're going to get 7,500 this year compared to what other parts was $75,000 to $85,000, which 7,500 doesn't even hardly purchase anything and to do with to get this. And our whole point here is, in order for us to be able to even entertain people coming here, we have to have a identity. It doesn't work just as Snoqualmie. It does not work just as North Bend. It has to be a group. It has to be together as Snoqualmie Valley. It doesn't work otherwise. And we've tried and tried and tried. So we're at this point trying really hard to come up with a creative way to figure out a funding mechanism for us to be able to do tourism.
And when you say us, you're talking about us as a region.
Mhm. Yes, it is. Again, we are not going to be able to do it. It is just not possible. We will, just so you know, Visit Issaquah. They have a budget, I think, of 178,000, and that pays just mainly for a CEO, and that's it. We don't want just that. We have to be able to have marketing money to be able to market. And the whole reason that we did the sustainable market, the rural tourism support group, was because we know that out here it's different. It's not just going out and being a Visit Bellevue or Visit Seattle and selling hotel rooms. That's not what this is about. It's also about visitor management. It's about the ability to sustain outdoor living for a lot of people as well. And there are other things that this could pay for eventually if we did it right. And I think there's a $52 million that in retail sales. And Wendy, just so you know, there's $52 million that here, is that right, Jim? 50? I remember seeing that number and I can't remember what it was. You just popped in. There is a number, I think it's 52 million, or the revenue person. Are you revenue? You're not, okay, darn it. But the money, the McDonald's in North Bend and the Taco Time in North Bend are the #1 sales in the entire state of Washington. So anyway, there are funding mechanisms. There are abilities to have our tourists to pay for this and not our residents if we did it correctly. So we are asking for a leap of faith on this as well to figure it out. If anybody has any other ideas, come share them, because I've been working on this for many years, trying to figure it out. And we have not been able to do that. And as I said again, the funding mechanisms, our grants are drying up. We do not have the grants. We just lost almost $75,000 in grants this past 2 months. And that's continuing. So is Mountains of Sound Greenway. They're all losing federal dollars. And there's not anything else. And that's going to be a big problem because they do a lot of our things for our trails. It's going to be a huge problem. So again, we are stuck and we need help.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we can all understand and be clear that there is not enough money to fund the effort that needs to be there to market our region, to bring more visitors to the area. There needs to be a plan, and these dollars are helping to figure out what that plan is. We're jumping a little bit to like, is it restaurant and retail, what it's going to be? But part of this forming the plan is talking to everybody and getting consensus, particularly 67% consensus of one particular industry or group of businesses. And those people will be in support of this. So, all right, well, thank you. And I think Kelly, if you or someone from your team can send us the city presentation, that would be great. Thank you. And then can we put it on the agenda for next month? All right, thank you, Wade.
All right,
Unless you have
thank you.
anything else to add.
No, thanks,
Need to
everybody.
move along with our agenda, but thank you. And I really appreciate your time here today and your comments. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda. I was going to go to the discussion of the joint EDC meeting, or did you want to jump back since we're running, I feel, low on time to Small Business Saturday?
Sure. Really, the only update is that I will be working with the chamber just to do some messaging for Small Business Saturday. The city will be we do messaging every year to promote it. So just working concurrently with them at the same time.
Is that like social media and newsletter stuff?
Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
Just shop local, shop Saturday, and the businesses, they do rely on it. You know, it's the first Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. They've only got 3 Saturdays in December for shopping this year. So, yeah, the 26th of December is the last Saturday in December. So time is of the essence.
Are there anything happening like in the downtown area or the Ridge, like Small Business Saturday shopping organized or messaging or anything, or is that? Nope. I'm looking at you.
Oh.
You're my downtown.
Well, we do our
Snowy.
own thing. I didn't attend the last merchant meeting, so I don't know if there's a
Okay.
plan in place for Small Business Saturday. I know all the individual merchants, do things, but we're setting up my two businesses. We're setting up for holiday like next Wednesday night, I think, to get on top of it with the only 3 Saturdays in December. So it's a little.
So do you tag the city of Snoqualmie, and is that appropriate when you do your Small Business
Yes.
Saturday stuff?
We cross market. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Great.
I'll just take the opportunity to say too, we have Halloween coming up on the 25th, which is really great collaboration with, and it's a progressive day. It starts up on the Ridge, comes downtown, and then we work with North Bend and time their events as well. So that's always a fun day for us. And then just super quick, I haven't seen them this morning. I here early, but staff and our vendor is already starting to do holiday lighting. So we're getting ready to do that.
My children very much appreciate all the Halloween activity, so they
Aw.
can hardly wait.
I had a question about the holiday lighting.
Sure thing.
Okay, so I know we, as the EDC, was it last year, maybe the year before, recommended, and I think it went, was agreed on that the lighting program would be up through the end of January. Is that going to happen again this year, hopefully, too?
The main tree, I'm not sure, that might go off in January, but the
The winter
trees
lights.
in the quad, the 4 big cherry trees, that's an outside vendor. Those are being installed in white lights. And those will stay on, and I believe the gazebo will stay on as well. So we will keep some lights on downtown longer than we normally have done.
Which will be great because it'll help the darkness of January.
Yeah.
like, And I think it was really helpful last year.
Yeah.
and-
I mean, we're always, honestly, we just kind of never know what Mother Nature is going to throw our way as far as snow and all the things. But yeah, there has definitely been a switch to white so that it doesn't look so holiday-ish. And just like the ridge lights on Center Boulevard well, they've been on year round. They're actually really lovely on a summer evening when they're glistening and stuff. But yeah, it's the goal.
Oh, do you want to go up there? Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Kelly.
So this is our second year that we we have ornaments that we start off on the small Saturday. So we have the school, the Mount Si School, to create ornaments. They design them, and then we give them to merchants to be able for people to come and get them. And people wanted it again, so we're doing it again. And so that's a big part of it. And then we also put in a grant for December 5th is the draw day for World Cup. And we're trying really hard to get that for downtown. And we're going to hopefully use the stage for that day. That's going to be for the next day for the lighting ceremony. So you'll know more about that very shortly. But we are working on doing that. So it just depends on if we get the grant or not.
Nice. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Any other questions? All right, so we'll move back to new business. So we're going to talking about the follow-up to the joint EDC meeting that we had with the North Bend commissioners. It was great, I thought. Did you have a summary? I know the cities were tasked with kind of putting together next steps and things. So was there any thoughts on that?
It was my understanding, this is Mona, by the way. It is my understanding that both cities are going to go back. We're tasked with going back and coming up with like their top 10 priorities. And then we would try to schedule another meeting in December, which may prove to be a little tricky, but maybe we can get that done if we move our meeting up earlier in the month. So I think we just need to talk about what those top 10 priorities would be and have a list prepared by the next meeting, the next joint meeting in December, and to see also what day that might work so I can coordinate that with North Bend.
So from the city's perspective, which do you think is the low hanging fruit as far as feasibility?
I'm not sure. Do you
Hey,
have any?
Can I
thoughts
ask,
for-
would it be possible to reframe, I'll just call it the mission of that task force for everybody in here? I think it'd be a good idea. Could we do that?
To reframe it?
Just what it is, what the goal, what the ambition was for that meeting that we had. Um,
That with North Bend, when you said task force, it threw me off. So-
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It really was, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know like the official, but it was really about bringing us together, because economic development knows no boundaries. And there's visitors and residents that live, work, and play in all the areas, and trying to figure out if we can come together on, can collaborate on projects and give ideas to our cities to move forward and to bring more economic development.
So it was really more open-ended
Yeah.
than very targeted and specific. The reason I'm asking, in the meeting, North Bend came in very targeted,
Yeah.
and I think we went in there to listen. I guess it's kind of a general question to maybe to the city or to those that have been on the board longer. Has there ever been a framework done similar like kind to what North Bend did, or at least as they presented their position?
Well, I know and again, correct me if I'm wrong, Mona. North Bend has a dedicated economic development staff person. And I think that helps. You have someone that's every day comes to work driving that mission. The city of Snoqualmie, that is, how many titles do you run? Maybe 3 or 4? Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
So it's part of, so that there's a difference in funding of staffing for that as well. And that helps, I think. But when you're talking about, do we have a guiding light to what we're doing? I think that's where it comes to the commissioner's interests. Oh, yeah.
So, like usual in government, the cart is a little bit in front of the horse with things. We're about to get that guiding light from council. all this year, council has been working on a strategic plan, which identifies the top three priorities for the council moving forward for the next 5 years. So that plan is scheduled to be adopted on November 10th currently. There's a little bit more work that has to take place, and assuming it goes well in the committee on the 4th, then it will be up for approval on the 10th. Part of that, as was discussed at the last council meeting, had to do with the Washington Tourism Plan. And one of our council members are like, and we really want it in the strategic plan, but it's never been presented to council. So they've asked to have that removed because they can't support something that they haven't seen. So some of the cart's a little bit in front of the horse. We're trying to get the horse back in front of the cart. So maybe we delay going back to the North Bend meeting till the new year when we have that strategic plan and we can actually target our stuff per council's wishes. And then I think it will be more targeted in the future.
That's helpful because in the meeting, I just want to get this out, is in the meeting, I didn't feel, well, it wasn't a one person or one group is ahead of the other group, but at the end of the day, I feel like North Bend is further ahead than we are on that. That's just bottom line.
Yeah.
In that meeting, it was pretty clear in different kinds of ways that North Bend's ready to move. I think that's really important because if we're talking about collaborating with them and they've done a little more hoeing than we've done, they start moving, who knows what could happen? We could get left behind. We're not participating. We're not supporting. And that the last comment there concerns me if we're waiting until later, because I don't know that there's in the near term, a later to take advantage of. In the long term, perhaps, arguably, anything that doesn't happen today could still come together in the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. I get that. That should be on the table as far as thought process is all. And I, being somebody who wants to move on things, which is probably obvious to many that are in here, I would hesitate to miss that window. That's all. And I guess I just want to make sure. And meanwhile, I didn't want to derail the city's perspective on what might be the low-hanging fruit, which is really important too. But I just wanted to get that out.
No, I think it's a great comment. And government does move slower than the private sector, but I love the energy, and I think it's well noted. Anything else? you'd like
So it
to-
sounds like maybe a January meeting might be better to start the year for a joint meeting with North Bend. I can call and get some additional clarification from North Bend's Economic Development Director to find out kind of how he's
Yeah, that'd be
leading
great.
this
That'd be great.
conversation,
Yeah.
and then bring that back
Hey,
at the next meeting.
hopefully you guys can have regular touch points, like maybe a monthly touch point.
Yes, we
I
do
think
meet
that'll help
regularly.
keep the connectivity going and ways that we can help.
I mean, I think to North Bend's point, they do have more resources. And I liked his point, though, that said, we will work better if we work together.
Mm.
You know, if we're trying to do things individually, we're not going to have as much impact on the valley than if we try to work together.
Right.
So to his point, I think that was a wise decision. And
Yeah.
I will call and get some additional clarification from him and bring that back.
Perfect. Mike, the strategic plan, is that the whole citywide strategic plan, or is it, and so economic development is a component of that?
Very large component of it.
And I maybe need some more coffee. Have we seen the economic development?
Strategic
Yeah.
plan.
Is that something he can all send to
Bring
us?
that
Or?
back to the
Uh,
EDC next.
Yeah,
month.
if you go to Monday night's council packet, it's all right there at the draft.
Okay,
Yeah. It was a full open meeting and a workshop.
okay. All right. Any other questions? All right.
But
So-
Mona could certainly email it out to all of you.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
I'll do
Thank you.
that.
So are we doing any kind of a brain dump here on the low-hanging fruit or no?
I was kind of hoping we'd kind of get that conversation started just to maybe,
Okay.
you know, download what we heard at the last joint meeting and
Mhm.
any ideas that were sparked out of that meeting. I think it'd be good to talk about that.
Okay, all right. I'm going to start with you, Gary.
What?
We'll work our way down the line.
Because I want it to be productive, I'm not sure really what I'm being asked to address, which I'm happy to address whatever topic. Are we talking about, let's bring up those topics that came up at the meeting and debate them, discuss them, see if they matter? Is that where we're going here? Or?
I think I would like, maybe we talk about our favorite ideas or the thing that stuck out to us most. Maybe that's it. And when I was talking about low hanging fruit, that question was addressed to the city because there's some things, ideas that come out that aren't, have to be funded and there's a lot more, what are the low hanging fruit? And I
Okay,
think,
I'll start. I don't know if this is
Yeah.
gonna get us where we want to go, but I think it'll frame some stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought it was pretty cool that they brought up this concept of the creative economy.
mhm,
I also think having run and owned and run businesses and had marketing groups report to me, et cetera, it's a marketing play, right? It's a great 2 words that doesn't really mean anything.
mhm.
Honestly, I mean, creative economy, if we polled everybody in here, what that means, you're gonna have 1,000 definitions. But that's also why they come up with these catchphrases, right? In the meeting, and I'll just call myself out, I brought up the fact about, well, the word artist keeps getting used. I don't know what the definition of an artist is. I know what my definition of an artist is. But you notice I didn't get an answer when I asked if somebody makes a purse, are they an artist? Well, I don't know.
they
I
call
mean,
it
it depends
artisan.
maybe the kind of person, somebody's eyes, I don't know. So at the end of the day, that I was concerned about because, and I expressed in the meeting that I've been a part of communities that have been very heavy in the art world. And I've watched it basically generate a ton of income for everybody that parachuted into the space and left.
Mhm.
Now, I'm sure there's residual, there's hotel space, et cetera. I'm not ignoring that there isn't residual economic value. I don't know what that is. I don't know how you measure that. It looks challenging to me if it was under the concept that I'm thinking of. But I'm not sure that's really where they were going, to be honest with you. I just didn't really feel like I got clarity, and that might be because they don't have full clarity yet on what they're defining as that community.
A buzzword in the world of economic development, and it's
Sure.
artisans and crafters, and it was originally started a long time ago at the city of Seattle when they looked at the film industry, the music industry, and the video game industry.
Right.
Which the video game industry was a pretty heavy weight on the scale as far as when it comes to economic impact.
Yeah.
So in economic development world, people use the creative economy to talk about that. And then also there's the small home-based business artisans and crafters. People can use that term
Sure.
for talking about that too.
And-
But
and-
absolutely crafting beers is an art. I agree.
Well, I mean, believe me, my brewers are artistic in their mind.
Yeah.
I mean, very. I think that requires them being here and us sitting around doing just this and having this conversation. Therein lies why I think another meeting would be very helpful.
Mhm.
I want to throw this out as caution to the wind. I don't remember who, but somebody suggested that we think about breaking into smaller groups. Look, this is the business side of me coming out. Great, but that adds timeline. And, you know what I'm saying? It's like, so, but listen, I'm not trying to drive the structure this has to take, but I just want everybody to be aware that when we start doing that, we're laying a lot of weight on it. And then the question becomes, are we trying to do a 10-year plan here?
That's
I
true.
get it, because a
Yep.
10-year plan is a lot of weight. I get
Probably
it.
was me. I think it was an answer to Nick, because Nick was talking about affordable housing. And I was like, because that's such a long-term
And
issue.
important.
And important,
Yeah.
and it touches almost many different commissions probably here.
Well, and I
in this
just saw the
space.
Economic Commission getting bogged down with housing.
Yeah.
Look, it's important, but so's property taxes, and I don't really want to focus on that either.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just giving you my perspective on it.
Yeah,
all.
that's fair.
all.
And you all have we all have very limited time, so I get
Sure,
that.
and so at the end of the day, I do think we need to come up with identify and call out, are we doing this? I'll just use examples, it's easier for me. Are we trying to get, somebody mentioned the 13 million people, are we trying to get them to stop in a store and spend some money? Well, then we need to target that. That's where I'm coming from. I think we talk low hanging fruit, basically I think what we want to see is some action that has immediacy.
Mhm.
Because I think I'm not going to use the word crisis, but I think there is a real degeneration of some of the really cool things that go on in the valley, in our city, whether it be Snoqualmie or North Bend. And I think we need to keep that going. I'm not going to profess to know the answers, and I think the feedback from all the businesses and the leaders is really important. I do. But I think we need to orient this towards an action strategy that has a near term 1-2 years. Let's see what we can, put some, I'm careful with my word here, but some adrenaline into the system. Maybe it is a 15,000, 20,000, or I'm sorry, I was late. Wasn't on by design. But whatever those monies were, it's a little marketing money spent in the right spots goes a super long way. And I know I like to use my Loggerhead Festival as an example, but you guys didn't spend any money on that. At the end of the day, I'm a finance guy. I pay attention to the dollars. I didn't spend any money on that. Other people did, but I didn't. Yet we were the ones who organized it, ran it, made it happen. And there were other people that had other interests. The ones that parachute in and leave, that had interests, that I made them participate in the costs, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, I would like to see us, even if today we don't get 3 things on the table, whatever they might be, to start that motion. And yes, I get the structural part. We probably do need to get North Bend and us together again sooner than later. I'm so into the importance of this that, if somebody said, let's get together next week, I'd say I'd make it happen. But I realize that's not possible with all this group. But I'm just saying. Anyway.
I love
did
it.
that
That's
help start
perfect.
this?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Thank you. And I love the energy and I need to do action because I'm the same way. All right. Oh,
As I understood it, we were each supposed to get, well, like North Bend, yes, they seem to be a bit more organized with their top priorities. And we were supposed to get together as a commission as well, either offline or through email or whatever, to come up with ours. So is that, that's what my takeaway was, their top 10 priorities, our top 10 priorities, and see if there's some, overlap on that to see what we
yeah.
can
And I
come up
think
with
that,
as the top.
yeah, the
goals.
city was going to come up with the
Okay.
top 10 for our, and then we were going to discuss it, but now we're thinking of waiting to January because we're waiting for council to come up with their.
And then see if there's a common thread between the two.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's what that is. But I think if you have more ideas, definitely, and thoughts,
Mhm.
you can share them.
Do I have more ideas right
I know.
this second?
No.
Oh.
When you can always email, yeah, right this second. Oh, you wanna go- Adrian, Paula, you can, anything to add?
Nothing to add. No.
Well, I will say the creative economy, just because I know it well. I mean, you nailed the top 3 things for me too. The Loggerhead Festival, your beer festival, was one thing that I did not know happened, and I think it's a huge opportunity for Snoqualmie to celebrate crafting of beer. And I think, and I don't know, isn't there like a land project that's down in that way?
Millside.
The mill
project?
site, yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes. And there was talk about maybe having some breweries or something like that down
Mhm.
there.
Brewery or wine destination, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it seems like there's like an interest or something. So I just think that's an opportunity, whether it's low hanging fruit, using the city's like social media. And again, I don't know all the policies and procedures, but like promoting it, there's overnight stays. You have people coming from all over.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We helped fill up the Snoqualmie Inn and the Hilton Garden in Issaquah
Mhm.
thanked us.
Mhm.
I don't know, is there a hotel in North Bend? I should know that. I don't know that. Oh, okay, yeah. So, but here, this is important too, is that easy for me to sit here because I have a specific business and sure there's an agenda around that. But the festival, I think, is a good example because guess what? Lager Festival, if anybody knows about beer, a lager is a style of beer. Sure, it's about that. Because I'm running it. It's, it could be more than that
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Mhm.
But what did we do? We brought in Washington Wild, which is the well-known charity. They're based out of Seattle. They're all about this gateway attitude into the mountains, waterways, watersheds. If anybody saw the Living Snoqualmie article on the festival, they did a pretty good job of overviewing the value that Washington Wild brings to the Snoqualmie Valley area. That's important. In fact, that might be more important than whether it was a Loggerhead Festival,
Mhm.
because people came and donated money at this thing because it's such a big deal to them. We had somebody representing some bike organization I've never even heard of that came out of Oregon that
Wow.
came up and donated money to Washington Wild, not to us,
Mhm.
but that's part of who we are. right? And
Yeah.
so that's what I think is the real value out of it, whether it's joint with North Bend, which I'd love it to be, but it doesn't have to be. But at the end of the day, the valley is the big kahuna draw. And then our towns and our respective communities are more the personality, maybe cultural a little bit, that we need to kind of tie it all in, you know. And one last thing, this is something I've mentioned to a few people. I actually I grew up in the Rocky Mountains and I love the term gateway cities, gateway towns, gateway whatever. I like that term. So I'm kind of like the marketing people at North Bend. I like buzzwords too. But I think that's who we are. As a geographical location, we always refer to ourselves as Snoqualmie Valley or the North Bend area or what have you. We are this sort of gateway, valley gateway community to a lot of things. I mean, I always call the mountains out because they mean a lot to me, but we're gateway to a whole lot of stuff here.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And that's partly why we got 14, 13 million people coming out here.
My other, so I love all that, and I think I love the tie to charity, and it's interesting because Kelly was mentioning some of the nonprofits that are struggling, and I'm wondering if there's a connection to that event to help, if it's appropriate, I don't know what the threshold is, but the other piece was, and this kind of ties into the request that was made for the funding of Civitas, you know, because there needs to be funding, because to do all this marketing, right? Because there is none, and the lodging tax has gone down from years previous. So figuring out another mechanism to fund marketing would be very valuable. But the other piece that also ties into that is like tourist itineraries, which I don't think it can. I mean, it could be something as simple as here's what to do on a website page. Like it doesn't take a whole lot of money to do. Just thought about if you're this kind of person, here's what you can do in the valley. If you're this kind of person, here's what you could do in the valley. And I think that's a low hanging for sure. It just takes someone time and energy and brainstorming on what people would like to do to get them thinking that like I don't have to just go see the falls. I can also go to lunch and I can then go do this and I can go see the trains, that kind of thing. And the other piece is December 5th, and I'm really glad that Kelly's already doing an event because that's going to be a pretty big day to know what countries are coming to the Seattle area. And again, might be lower, less costly social media placements. But once you know your countries, you could have World Cup stay here, visit here, ads ready to go. And then meaning social media ads, something that you can hopefully use what you've already created. And then now you know the countries of the people that are coming and you can hopefully economically pay for some from space and in those through Google and Meta. So and they're usually not too expensive. So those are my 3 takeaways. All right, anything else? Anything from the city side that got you excited or I know you guys are like so much work.
I loved the collaboration. I'll just say, I felt like there was a lot of great energy in the room. And I think to North Bend's point, and that was kind of a question I had on the Civitas. So if we create a district, do we have one district that pools all the money from North Bend and Snoqualmie together into one pot?
I can tell you how it works in the tourism promotion area that we have. So since Department of Revenue will likely, unless you have a third party, collect this, the jurisdictions need to decide which one is going to be the entity that's collecting it. That usually there's a percentage of admin fee. So if it's Snoqualmie, the good news is you could add staffing to help support economic development and tourism through this as well. So there's a benefit to being that, but it's also work and responsibility.
Okay.
And then it goes usually reimbursable. So it's not that you just give the money over, they have to supply reports every month and that kind of stuff.
Oh, I see.
So there is some admin work to do. It's not just, not just giving the money over. If it's the same. And Nick, did you have anything to add? I want to make sure you're not left out. Boo? Okay, you're good. Okay. No. All right, got it. I'm waiting. All right, if there's nothing else about the roundtable, that was great discussion. Thank you. roundtable ideas for 2026. We were talking about, we had previously had small business roundtables. And before that, before I was here, I believe there was walks that were done, or each individual commissioner did visits. And trying to figure out what we want to do for 2026 and if you had ideas. And I will start with mine, and I know we actually still have a little bit of time. I think it would be beneficial to have a landowner / building owner roundtable. I don't know how much outreach has been made to those folks, but trying to get them and hear their voices might be interesting. How we're moving forward, as a community, and what their aspirations are, and starting to build that relationship. It seems like there's been, just from what I've heard, a little bit of rocky road of relationships there, and I think you need to start somewhere. So maybe that's a opportunity.
Yeah, the first roundtable that was done, the focus was more of some of the larger business park landlords. But I think maybe you're thinking more of some of the smaller, or all landlords, whether it's big or whether it's small. Yeah.
Maybe the ones with vacant space. The vacant
But
space.
is there value in having all of them? Because often they own space, they own multiple properties, and then when they have an opportunity to sell, we would want to talk with them about our visions as a city, and, when they're entertaining different offers, are those things in alignment with the plans that the city has?
So you're asking me, is it beneficial to have them as a group?
I think it's beneficial to have them as a group, and I think it's beneficial to have as many of the landlords that we can have
Yeah.
come together, whether they own one piece of
Yes,
property
yes,
downtown
yes.
or something. But I think that
Yeah.
there's value in that, and
Yes.
that particular targeted outreach at that level, we have not done yet.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, no, I think that would be wise, and especially as you're putting together the strategic plan and there's an economic development. I don't know what's in it, but hopefully there's something there that it can be maybe a preview or a sharing of.
You might, that's interesting. You might want to, I don't know if this adds value or not. I'll say it. You might want to think about bringing in the property owners who are truly leasing space to third parties. Is that the objective? As opposed to bringing PSE in, because that PSE building across the street from our building, I don't know why I'd bring them in. I mean, other than
Yeah,
the fact
yeah,
PSP is obviously an
yeah.
important part of our world order, but for what we're targeting here, I don't know if they would represent the kind of, I would love to talk to the landlords, the people who own the buildings on Center Street,
Yeah,
people who own the buildings along Main Street.
Yeah.
I mean, that would
Mhm.
be, again, the economic commissioner's perspective. Just because I'd like to understand their MO, what they really are trying to achieve. If
Mhm.
it's just strictly rent and higher rent, at least it's on the table. Tells you a little bit about where you might have to go with the types of businesses that need to go in there.
Or any zoning or types
Sure.
changes that need to happen,
Sure.
ultimately the city will have a goal of what they want Snoqualmie to be. And, yeah, we have a big, I don't know if there's any update on the Bartel store, but there's a big empty space. What
Yeah.
can we use
But
it for?
we might want to think, when I look at real estate, I look at a big kahuna issue there.
Mm.
And there are a lot of little agendas that are very powerful that roll through all of that. And I'm just suggesting we might want to think in terms of business leasing space landlords, kind of keep it in a niche play
Mhm.
initially. Doesn't mean the other people get excluded. That's not my point, to exclude anybody, but just to keep the focus.
Yeah, or land with development, I
Or
think,
land with
too.
development,
Yeah, so
honestly,
where there's
yeah.
economic, that's
I
a fair
don't know
point.
if that's not a good thing in the city world. You gotta get everybody in the same room because it's the only way it works. I kind of understand that too.
I think that's why they have us, because we get to say, no, but I agree.
yeah.
I think
it's
having,
important to hear from everybody that has business in our city. It bothered me, our very first roundtable with the business district. Not every business was invited, and I think if you're really gonna listen to people, you've got to listen to all people.
Mhm.
That's my opinion.
I agree. Oh, I mean, I agree with that too. And I think if we're talking about the businesses, because I don't think we can have every single landowner at one meeting.
Well, not
So
at
we
one
could
meeting.
have them in groups, right?
Well, I guess that gets down to the definition. What's the meeting for?
Mhm.
Because you can occupy half the meeting on property tax issues,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that's fine. It's important. but is that
Mhm.
what you're trying to achieve?
So that goes back to the goal of this committee, economic development,
Sure.
like trying to drive, what is economic development? If people don't know, it's about driving business to the city, visitors and spending so that it doesn't come from the residents. It comes from the business or visitors. And that's kind of what Civitas was talking about there. So I think if you're focusing on that, that's a good point because it is talk about what kind of businesses are here and what are you doing with that land? If you have a big empty space and you put a data center in there, that just pays the landlord and is only like 1 or 2, 5 employees or something, and that's not a lot that's going to occupy our small businesses during lunch or go shopping down for, their kid's birthday down at downtown, right? You want the spaces, you want as many employees during the workday.
That's a great example, and I would just make the argument that that's for the land use folks in the city and the county. The Economics Commission would be kind of not a good focus for that.
Mhm, mhm.
That's all.
Yeah.
Not saying we don't need to learn from it. There might be some components in there.
Yeah,
But I just want to be careful. Listen, we could spread a commission like this so thin that we're not getting anything done,
correct.
is the point. And that's really, if it's not clear, that's my agenda, is I'm trying to focus on some things we can get done
Yeah,
and not get buried under, getting housing fixed.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So Paula, what do you think about a sports focused businesses? Because we have a lot of sports in the area. I don't know if there's enough, I don't know, but
Like, what do you?
like, so
like-
hockey, baseball, like, are there, we've got biking stores, like, would it be beneficial to have a segment versus an area, like a focused?
You mean
Or a
a
round table.
specific
Or round
round
table, yeah,
table
yeah.
First, I don't know that there's enough
To make it, okay,
to make it
okay,
a complete round table.
okay, okay, fair. I know we have a lot of sports, but I didn't know if there was any.
Well, that depends. I mean, I understand why you say that, Paul. I do, because you're probably thinking in terms, there's not a lot of bricks and mortar, right? Is that what you're thinking?
Right,
Businesses that are
right.
pro-
I
but
mean-
there's a very large Snoqualmie Valley Little League Association,
Oh, sure.
right?
Mhm,
There's a
mhm.
very large football association. There's other, they're probably more in the nonprofit side than in the profit side. But, just fields, I go by that Gene Hansen,
Mhm.
Hansen Park. Holy cow. I mean, that's gotta be, you talk about capacity, that's gotta be over capacity.
Mhm.
There's cars everywhere. There's people piled onto that thing. That's gotta be an income generator for the city. Gotta be, because those people have gotta be coming down and going to Saints and Scholars and other places to eat and drink and whatever. That has a play. There is no question about it. It has a play. I don't know enough about it to say
Yeah.
it's a top 3 issue or a top 5 issue.
Mhm.
Because I really don't know. I don't even know what the infrastructure is really like in the valley or in.
Yeah.
So look at the splash pad. Look how big a deal that is. I put that in the category of recreation,
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
and
yeah, recreation.
not sports, but. well,
I
could
think
make it
that
into a
it's
sport.
important to listen to them, and I think
Yeah.
they can be included in, I don't know that we need a specific sports
Got it.
round
Yeah.
table.
Any
Because
other ideas? Good.
as a sports business, that's not our only focus in the city.
Mm.
The business is.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. It does in my head.
I understand. Any other ideas? Again, in the past, we've focused on, we've done areas and we've done like restaurant and retail. I think we did like hospitality or something like that. Is there any other, do you like that? Do you want to continue that if we do?
I
in the
think,
future?
I think probably can continue the same model, like the same
Okay.
groups
Mhm.
next year so that we could see, any differences
Mhm.
that came from one year to the next. But also I do think that we should extend the invitation to a larger group because our numbers at the roundtables were relatively low.
Mhm, mhm.
I think the largest one was the one where the downtown merchants attended. That was probably our largest attendance, if I'm not mistaken. But what was it? The first one, the business park, was there like maybe one person? So, our download on that is not a lot. So it needs to be opened up to a larger
But
invitation.
I think we got a little bit better as we went about getting out invitations to more of the businesses, but I know the business park being the first one,
Was there anyone there?
It just didn't have.
So there, we need to improve on our invitation delivery process and follow-up,
Yes.
which relies on staff. I know, and you guys don't have much time, but maybe there's, maybe a good opportunity to build relationships as you're delivering,
Also, I
maybe hand
think-
delivering invitations versus email that
No,
get.
not with the B and O tax bill, the invitation.
Yeah.
I also think
Everybody
that
gets those.
Right.
the time of day could have contributed to, asking all the business owners to be here at 8 AM. I don't know if that prohibited people from coming or not, if there's an opportunity to change that,
Okay, yeah, so invitations, time.
especially with a lot of people, business owners and whatnot commuting in. I know for
Mhm.
me, I left at 6:30 to be here.
Yeah.
Not everyone resides in the city and can just, so that might have
That's fair.
impeded.
That's fair. Yeah. All right, anything you'd like to add, Mona? And then- yeah.
Well, it is a struggle to get people to come to
Mhm.
meetings. And so I'm sitting here brainstorming, like, what if we had a workshop and we invited our business owners? What if we made it, maybe a late afternoon, early evening type of meeting instead of, to your point, Joelle, like at 8 AM? It's hard for people to get here that early. So if we really want to engage our business owners, should we think about a different time, a different,
Yeah. Yeah.
we could certainly have it here at City Hall. Maybe it needs to be a 2-hour meeting. We need to have a good agenda ready. We need to do lots of marketing, get that out on our social media, maybe do a little bit of personal outreach. So,
I think a lot of personal outreach, because economic development is all about relationships and building
Yes.
that relationship so they know who to call to, and
I mean,
just
can we-
seeing a face is important. Yeah.
I'm just curious, this is kind of an administrative question. Is there any reason we can or can't leverage like the chamber? Obviously, the chamber has more of a direct business to business
Yeah, I don't think so.
kind of, I'm just, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
It seems,
yeah.
easy is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
What makes it easy?
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And I think maybe highlighting some of the results or successes, because we were able to listen and get some things done. So I think showing that, we did this last time and there was actionable change that happened. And I know like the paint colors was one, and there was some signage stuff, I think, too. So showing that, yeah, you coming does make a difference. And then the hook, yeah. Yeah, I think there needs to be a hook too, whether it's a person that they get to talk with, or something they're learning maybe about all the crazy new taxes that they have to pay. So, all right, good.
When we do our CEO roundtables that are up in the business park, most of the CEOs up there and managers need between 3 and 4 months in advance because they're traveling a lot. So when you say an event is going to happen and you tell them that it's going to be in 2 weeks, you're never going to get them here. So I really suggest that you guys really concentrate on that and make sure that you have the dates in the distant if you want them to come. And then the other thing that I just wanted to share is most of the owners that are up on the ridge and in the business park are international or national. Like 2 of the big buildings up there are owned by Alaska people. So it's not easy to get the ones down here are mostly individuals, but the ones that are on the ridge are not local. So just
We
wanted
can
to share
use
that. as well.
Teams. We can Teams or Zoom.
yeah, Kelly, what's the CEO roundtable? Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, we haven't had one in a year, but what we do is we have all of our CEOs for the come together, and we have different legislators that come in and have conversations with them. And it's not with the city. It's that's from their discretion. They wanted it to be. It was just from the business owners.
Okay, so that's not something we could leverage for our roundtable.
Well, you can because I know them all. So for
Oh,
me to
okay.
help you with that.
Oh,
but
got it, got it. I'm
but
with you.
there's this actual CEO roundtable is not.
Yeah.
No. And there's a lot of laws that are coming in 2026 that are changing the Clean Energy Act. And that's something that they're very much worried about. And some of the funding did not come through with the Department of Commerce that we're supposed to give the grants to be able to fix those buildings. So that's a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah. And this session's going to be very dire as well, unfortunately. All right, well, I thought that's a good start. Anything else to add? I know we got a lot to talk about in the last 2 months of the year to get set up for 2026, especially because we have to be 4 months ahead of schedule. So, all right, I guess we have a little checklist going. All right. I want to make sure, because we jumped around, I think we got through everything. And I think our future agenda topics, we've talked about a little bit, because we're talking about Civitas again in November, and I'm sure we should talk about the roundtables again. And is there any other items of interest from the commissioners that you would like to see on future agendas that we haven't talked about? And Nick, I don't know if you're still there, but please chime in.
He's gone.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right, well, with that, 9:51, we are adjourned. Thank you.